Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the SBP. It is another Sunday morning. Your boys are back. We're going to talk some NBA today. Source was good.
Hey, what's going on, bro? How you feeling?
I'm good this morning. I don't know. I'm kind of slow, kind of tired. You the thing that I really went out and partied last night, but that might be just a sign of old age, getting older because I didn't do a whole lot. I sat in the movie theater
Right.
last night and got back actually relatively early. So a little slow, but I'm going to get it together, though. I'm going to get it together. How about you?
Yeah. Maybe the same. A little slow, but we gonna be all right.
That what they say. It's that what they say. Um, yeah, man. We're gonna come in here and talk a little NBA. Of course, we are smack dab. I didn't even say in the middle at the beginning of the NBA finals. By now, everyone's had time to sit back and digest what happened in the first game. A lot of people, maybe a few people, surprised based on what I saw inside the group when I put the poll up that about who was going to win this series, and there were more people. First of all, of course, the Nuggets are the overwhelming favorite inside the SBP, but also there were quite a few people that posted on that particular post and some other posts that they actually expect the Heat to win this series. I was seeing the Heat in five a lot, a lot. And I don't know if some of that's just the fact that people just don't like Denver. Don't want to see, they didn't last on the Jimmy buckets, or just what the situation is. I don't know. I do know it was Laker fan in there, I believe. Of course, that's probably more or less. We ain't winning it in the West. But we ain't nobody winning in the West. I don't know what it was, but there are actually some people that really have the Heat in five, but they're gonna have to play a whole lot better than they did in Game One.
Yeah, I don't know who they thought uh, the Heat were playing, saying Miami in five. Like that don't even make no sense. That don't make no sense in no way. Like how would Miami beat Denver in 5 games? Denver just beat the Lakers in 4 games. What are we doing? What is going on? That's just a wild statement. But hey, people have opinions. Not that the Heat can't win. I mean, of course, they made it this far. They can win the series. It's possible, but in 5 games against a team that's been at the top of their conference the whole season and has been resting about a week, that don't even make no sense. That's a wild statement.
People really feeling it, man. And the thing is, I do know that we have at least there's two that I know of in the group that are actually Miami Heat fans. I didn't see either one of them say that. And they actually been kind of quiet, like, and I respect it. They cheered during the playoffs when their team, when Miami, took out Milwaukee, of course, and what they did
Mm-hmm.
to the Knicks. But they've been in Boston, but they've been, pretty quiet. But it's the non Heat fans that I'm seeing that actually, I don't think they're Heat fans anyway. I know some of them aren't Heat fans that are saying talking about the Heat winning this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you think of Game One, man? What you think of Game One?
I think game one was game one. Miami's coming off of just playing a couple days beforehand. Tough seven
Mm-hmm.
game series where they had to. I mean, they had to play. They had to play games 1 through 3 and games 5 through 7. They had to, put forth maximum effort. I can see if they didn't max out in game 4, I can see that being a possibility. But they had to max out in the other games trying to get that last win. And some people would be like if Miami had won, there are people that'll say, well, they've been playing the whole time. They didn't have a break, and Denver had days off.
Mm-hmm.
Too much time off. They've been sitting around, and you know, I guess it depended on what would happen in game one, how people would respond. But Denver's just a better. They're just they're just better. Like they're just better, and and they showed it in game one. But I'm sure we'll get a better performance by Jimmy Butler in games 2 through whatever, and it's going to be a tough series one way or the other. But if Jamal Murray and the Joker play like they played, I don't know what to tell them.
So are we gonna get a better game out of Jimmy Butler? You think? Like because one thing that I said, and I don't know if you and I discussed this or not, but I've been preaching this since this series has been set. It was something I thought would give Miami a problem on both ends. Well, one person, and I thought it was going to be Aaron Gordon. But I said because Aaron Gordon is going to get a lot of those matchups with Jimmy. That's the way they're going to draw that up. And he defended him pretty well. I mean, all things considered, he actually did a really good job on Jimmy. And then on the offensive end, I thought that with him was, I said, he is a guy that plays well in the lane. When Miami likes to sit back and go into that zone, he's the kind of a guy that can get inside that zone. He's an adequate passer. He's very active, whether he's trying to score the ball or whether he's trying to get a rebound or get something loose and getting it out. I thought that he would definitely be a problem. And definitely in that first half, especially, we know what the Joker was doing, but man, they don't, they built that momentum off of Aaron Gordon's energy.
Right. Yeah. Gordon is, it's a tough match because he's quick enough and strong enough to deal with Butler. Then on the other hand, you got Porter right there as well.
Yep.
Even if he isn't the best defender, he's 6'10", so
Yeah.
he's long enough to be a problem
Yeah.
defensively as well. KCP plays defense well also, so ain't no easy matchups, ain't no slouch matchups for Jimmy, but
ain't no easy win.
I think his determination will allow for him to play better. I think it was game one. I think a lot of people are putting too much stock into what happened in game one. But it's game one. It was going to go, it went how it's supposed to go, in my opinion. It went how it's supposed to go. Game two is going to be a different thing. Also, let's not forget that Miami definitely had some open looks.
Yes.
And missed them.
Yes.
They had open looks and missed them. So if Miami makes those in game two or going forward, then what? We have a closer game and a tougher series for Denver.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too, to see how Mike Malone handles that because he said if you listen to his press conference or one of his press conferences, he talked about that he realized that Miami got a bunch of open looks. And even though they controlled the majority of this game, he said his team didn't play well. And that's a scary thought to think about at one point. What were they up by, like 24 at one point? So, and he said his team didn't play well. We gave them too many open looks, way too many by his count. And he knows that they have the type of cast to knock those shots down. He's not betting on, what was Strus, like 0 for 9? Duncan Robinson, 1 for 5. He's not betting on that happening again. So it's going to be interesting to see how he attempts to combat that because, my favorite thing is chess matches. And it seemed like in this particular game, when I was watching it, every time, Malone had the Nuggets come in doing what they normally do, right? Then Spoelstra would make an adjustment, right? The second he makes that adjustment, a series or two later, Malone would go to something a little bit different. Like they were jockeying back and forth. I'm going to do what we do until he adjusts to this. He starts moving these guys a little bit closer to the top of the key, defenders up here. Then I'm going to send this guy through the lane. So this whole thing is a chess match. And I think we're going to see that throughout this entire series. And so it's going to really come down to, as cliche as it sounds, all about who makes the buckets. And that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, that pick and roll, depending on who's guarding Jokic, is a killer. The pick and roll with him as the pick guy.
Woo! Crazy,
because he always rolls, and if they switch, a lot of times when it's Murray, he's getting like Kyle Lowry or Gabe on him, so he's getting a much smaller guy. He just gets into the lane and just hits the little floater. You can not floater because it's really a 1-footer from the dotted line. That's easy money all day. So what's the switch? You throw Bam and then he goes 1-on-1 and just handles the ball, backs him down, does whatever he does, gets to the point where they have to double and kicks to the open man, 3-point shooter sitting around, which is what I ain't gonna talk about the Lakers and how I said LeBron needs to be surrounded for the last 10 years. I ain't gonna get into all that. I'm just saying that's easy money. You gotta pick your poison. Pick your poison. You're gonna let Jokic punish you for 40, easy 40,
Sure.
and demoralize whoever's guarding them, or you gonna double off and hope that those other guys miss. Pick your poison.
Man, Jokic, filthy. Like, we already knew that, but another triple double, 27, 14, and 10. And the first thing I thought about, J. Cole said so many shells on the ground. I make the Easter Bunny proud. Man, he was dishing out so many assists in the first half. I knew Stockton and Magic had to been smiling watching this joint. No, them dudes was proud. Watching a big man distribute the ball as well as he does. And there's no way you can combat that part. You know what I'm saying? He already gonna give you the buckets, the short, the mid-range, the short game, the fade away. But when he can dish it out and they can put a hurting on you with him doing nothing but passing.
I know he barely shot in the first half, right? He took less than 5 shots, I believe, in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the man. When people talk about 3-time MVP and he shouldn't be, which he wasn't. He didn't win the MVP this year. But
right.
When they talk about it, I feel like the idea of a back-to-back 3-time MVP is the reason that some people were against it, as opposed to him, how he actually played during the season. I don't think the way he played or him actually being the MVP or not was the argument. I just think people didn't want to see this guy be the back-to-back MVP of the NBA.
Right.
And you look back at the last 2 seasons and you're like, there's no way Denver was supposed to be as good as they were the last 2 seasons because everybody was hurt. Except for this guy who was killing everything. And now people get to see it up close and personal if they choose to watch the finals and understand what it is. This ain't no, hey, it's a big white guy, we got to give him the award. This dude kills everybody, pretty much.
Yeah. And shout out to Bam, though, because we criticized Bam a little bit because his play in the last couple of games in the last series. Bam actually came to play this game. Very respectable stat line. Loved him defensively. He did what he could do. And it sounds funny being that they were getting blasted for majority of this game. But Bam is going to have to bring that energy the entire series. And definitely needs some help. But, if you can get 26 from this man and he control the boards, getting 13 and out there just playing well, leaving it all out there, you can't ask much more from him. So at least in game 1, you can't have him as the scapegoat.
Right. True that. And even if Denver wins this game 2 tonight, as soon as, some people, like, the series is over after game 1. Some people will be, if Denver wins, the series is over after game 2. It's just Denver at home. Denver is supposed to win these games. They should win these games. So even if Denver gets the dub after tonight or gets the dub tonight, the series won't be over, but there will definitely be people saying the series is over just because Denver won the 2 games at home.
You think? You already know how people think, man. It's a done deal in people's eyes.
Right.
And he just got he shot 60% in that fourth quarter. So that's something for them to build on, and I'm sure Malone knows that as well, too. So it's something for him to try to figure out. So, but like I said, he did mention as well, he didn't expect the Miami shooters to, play as bad as they did in the first half. He knows that they will eventually get hot. Are you surprised at all, though, that we haven't seen Kevin Love? Because we're talking about Kevin Love has started games in this playoffs, but now he's not getting any play time. And I think I may have a reason or two why he hasn't gotten any play time, or at least he didn't in game 1. But I'm just curious to see what you think about that.
Oh, he's definitely a liability on the defensive end at this point.
Yes.
Definitely. And nothing he could do. Who is he going to guard? Who is he going to counter guard? He's not quick enough to guard Gordon. He definitely can't guard Porter. And you don't want to waste him. I mean, you don't want to waste your time, really, putting him on Joker. I mean, what is that going to do? Like, you're going to get punished like everybody else. So if he's not, like, Kevin Love at this point is not somebody that you want to waste minutes on to figure out if he's going to be knocking down the three, because that's the only way he would need to be on the court. Other than that, I mean, I think he was on the court in previous series because there were going to be boards left to clean up. Not to mention, let's see, Boston. No, who was before Boston?
The Knicks. You talking about, did they play? Oh, Miami?
Yeah.
Miami played the Knicks before then, and then Milwaukee before that.
Milwaukee at first. The Knicks.
He started a couple of games in the playoffs, 2-3 games.
He started at the beginning, right? He started at the beginning of the series. But yeah, there were boards to be cleaned up, and Bam might have been elsewhere, or having to actually defend somebody that could get a bucket. So I think there were boards to clean up, and then maybe they wanted to give a chance to Kevin Love to see if he was going to knock down the three. But it seems like they found out it's more valuable to just not play him, or better off on them to just not play him than to give them those minutes, and they could go elsewhere, especially to somebody like Highsmith, who was
he would,
who was shown up in the last couple series. He's shown up in the last couple series and played more minutes, and he's more capable of guarding Porter or Gordon if necessary.
It's got to be scary, though. You're talking about somebody, we talking about defensively, and I agree with you as well. I do wonder if it gets to a point where things start to get out of hand and the shooting is not there, and we do see that Strus and Robinson just don't get on. Do you have to roll the dice? I mean, because you're going to lose a lot defensively, but do you have to roll the dice at the expense of hoping that he can at least try to get you some buckets, which is already going to be a funny thing, because you're also going to now have to try to figure out, if not tonight, the next game in a few days, how you going to do this whole thing with Tyler Hero possibly coming back. You know, what is that interrupted? Does it interrupt anything at this point? Like, it's
right.
Something that you can think about.
And how much do you trust Tyler Hero just flat out the gate back in the finals? That's going to be interesting to see.
You know what the talk going to be. So he's supposed to losing this series is going to be in a no-win situation, because if he brings Tyler Hero in and he doesn't play him that much, the talk is going to be, well, you know what Hero can do, and you bring him back and you ain't even use him. You didn't want to win this series. Or you bring them back and things still don't go well, and then the talk is going to be, well, they had a good thing going. They made it through all these playoff games, these tough series with the continuity of the rest of the players, and you bring Hero in to interrupt it. So I think the only way out of that conversation, to be honest with you, is the Heat going to have to win.
Or Hero's going to have to play well if he
at least play well. Exactly. You know, if he plays well in the loss, of course, you know.
Yeah.
People still find a way to make something out of that too. Yeah, he played well, but you know, people find a way to make things out of everything.
Hey, they need to leave Exposure alone. He's already proven, you know, he's a great NBA coach. I think that, you know.
People are just saying that now, like he just became that, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm looking at all these posts. If he wins this and a couple of people, I'm gonna put them on blast, but people I know that know sports. And I saw a couple of comments even after the last series, and I was like, man, if they do this, Spoelstra's got to be put in, you know, the top 5 coaches. And I'm sitting there like, okay, you know, I get it. I get it. Tell me that you like sports, but you are a basketball fan, but you don't really watch basketball. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Spoelstra's been that dude.
Yep.
So, gang. So if the Nuggets want to get back in this thing, man, what do they have to do starting in game 2 tonight?
If the Heat want to get back in.
Yep.
The only thing they need to do, I mean, they could play somewhat like they played last game, except knock down shots. Got to knock down shots. That's it. You get open looks, you got to knock them down. There's no way around it.
Yeah, it's same thing. You touched on it earlier. Jimmy's gonna have to find a way to get them going. And I'm not talking about he's gonna have to bust that 40, but he's gonna have to, get them going. He seems to play his part, very well in the playoffs. Even in the games when he wasn't busting the 40-point games, when he was doing the modest, the 28s and the 30s, picking his spots. So I think he has to continue to do that. But I think also he has to, get in the ear of some of these other guys and say, like, look, let's shake this thing off. Shake this thing off. You guys didn't shoot well. We as a team didn't shoot well. Definitely, our sharpshooters from the outside didn't shoot well. Shake it off, guys. I'm still behind you. I got your back. And let's do this thing and let's stick it out. And I also think they have to put it in the ear, like, look, no matter what happens in the first half of this game or the first few minutes or the first half, you see what we did in the fourth. We closed that thing a little bit, and we shot very, very well. So that's just something for them to build off of. But I'm very anxious to see this matchup again when they do match up against each other. You did mention how they can always run those switches with Pope and Porter, who I thought exhausted a lot the energy when he did have to try to contain him. Porter obviously didn't shoot well. Even with his 14, I think he was 2 of 11 from 3. I think a lot of that came from him exhausting some energy on the defensive end. But I think Jimmy just has to keep his guys' head in the game because Jimmy gonna be there. Jimmy one of those players that can do virtually much of nothing for 2.5, 3 quarters, and then be there down the stretch when you need him. But yeah, he just got to try to shake this thing off, man. But the Nuggets understand that too, so that's the problem.
Right. It's gonna be good though. Should be a better performance by Miami, but I still got Denver getting the dub tonight. And the joke, I think I think Miami's going to change how they approach Jokic, and Jokic is going to end up putting up 30 plus tonight.
I think so. That's what my guy Clark. Clark, what's good? Hey, Clark, ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with watching during the playoffs, especially if you don't have a team. At least you can admit it. I was talking about earlier to cats that if you see the way they speak on Facebook, it's just like they supposedly straight experts in this thing, but you can tell how much basketball they really watch or how much of a sport they really watch. The two things. We did the Eric Spoelstra situation. The source and I was just talking about him being one of the top coaches before this season. And then the more and more people are really, caping for Jokic when Jokic been that dude. I mean, he been that dude, but all of a sudden, up in the past couple of series, Jokic this, Jokic that. Where you been? Where you been? So, it is what it is. Appreciate you checking in with us, Clock. So who wins game 2?
Denver gets the dub tonight.
Yeah.
Joe for 30 plus.
Yep.
Murray does his thing, and then Porter gets back on track.
Clark said facts on the trash talk doing football. Well, you have that right, sir. If anybody has that right to trash talk, you do have that right. So one of the few. Hey, so no doubt, I got Denver as well going up 2-0. I definitely got them going up 2-0 tonight, but I can't wait to see these matchups. So we're gonna see. Something else we got to talk about, man. And definitely we'll be back talking about basketball because we were talking about it earlier. I believe this series has the potential, if it was to go 7, I think it would span out over like 16, 17 days. So that is crazy, especially when you're used to having basketball every night or at least every other night. But as this thing shrinks and gets smaller, this is just what the hand that you're dealt. But something else, my man, I want to talk about. We were going to talk about it last week, but we decided to wait until their season was over. And I want to get your thoughts on what do you think the Celtics should do with this tandem of Tatum and Brown. Obviously, their season is over. There was big expectations for this Boston Celtic team who actually struggled at times during the playoffs. They made a furious run to try to come back against the Miami Heat, but ultimately fell short. So it's a lot of talk about what they should do with these two. And right now, Jaylen Brown is the question because they have to approach him about his money and his contract first. So this man is eligible for that 5-year extension. I believe at like $290 million. What should they do with it?
I hate to say this because I don't like this idea. I've been against this idea the last couple seasons when people have said it, but they might have to break up the band. They might have to break up the band. It might be time. I only say that because, and actually somebody, I can't remember who I saw that pointed this out, but it was a great comparison. They were like, you look at Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant in OKC. Durant is the guy, but Russ was so good that he wasn't going to necessarily always defer to Durant. Durant was so laid back that he wasn't necessarily going to demand the ball from Russ because he knows Russ is good too, even though he is the man. And Russ is good enough to think that he is the man.
Who's the man?
It's the same thing. It's very similar. It's very similar. Tatum is the guy. Tatum's so laid back and cool that he's not going to demand the ball from Brown because he knows Brown is nice. Brown is looking like, why am I not the guy when I'm good enough to be the guy? Although everybody knows I'm second on this team. But I could be the guy, so I'm not necessarily going to defer to the guy in those situations. So maybe Brown needs his own identity and not as Robin to Batman to Tatum's Batman.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of money because like if you're going to give him that 290, then you did 5 year, you got to come back with the Tatum situation. I think that's like over 300 mil, like 308. He'll be eligible for it. So you be paying what's it like 600 mil? Jeez. Like for two guys for a team that's seemingly been right there but can't get over the hump. It's a funny situation. I was talking to one of my guys that we kick it and we talk basketball all the time. And I told him my thoughts was if you're going to commit to giving Brown this money, I think you definitely, that can't be your only move. Now, I don't know how much money you're going to have to be able to work with, right? But that cannot be your only move. You have to find a way at this point. If these two are going to work together, you need to get somebody that can distribute the ball better. I think you can get them into place and get them. I think they need another point guard. And I say that as nothing against Smart at all because I happen to like Smart. I like Marcus Smart. I like everything that he brings to the game. He's the type of player that can play for me. I just don't think that he's a true point guard. And he's definitely not for these guys. So you find a way to get a point guard in. I know I'm hearing I saw the stuff on one of the sites the other day when they were talking about the possibility of bringing a guy like Dame. Could you even make that work money-wise? I have no idea. I didn't even attempted to look at that. I don't know. Yeah, Dame Lillard. But because of the rising talks supposedly at this point about his possible willingness to actually go ahead and move in the right situation. But I don't even know if it has to be that extensive. I don't know if it has to be a Dame type player. I think it has to be someone who can score, but does a better job of getting these two in position. Because I think when I watch him, especially with Brown don't need to be handling the ball as much as he does. This is my thoughts on it.
Well, they got three. They got White, Brogdon, and Smart. So
you think Brogdon is that? Someone told me they think that Brogdon is that guy. I don't know if he's that guy to do what they need, what they need to do, what they need done. Plus, how much you gonna be able to depend on them. I hate to bang on them, but Brogdon's been, building up quite a resume of the injuries. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You get to a certain point, and then you back to just these two who have failed at this point to actually get it done. And they're both still young, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how long they ride this out. That's a lot of money. But
So you talking about actually Brown possibly going to another team? Do you think that he is good enough to be the guy by himself on another squad?
Yeah.
You think so? I have to see the team.
Huh?
I'd have to see the team first. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a second team All NBA for nothing.
You bet on the man that can't go left? No, I'm joking.
I've seen worse. I mean, you betting on a man that can't go right.
That is true. Hey, it happens, man. You paying that type of money though, but yeah,
True.
That is great. Appreciate everybody checking in. Arvin, what's good? I spoke to my guy Clark. Martin Spriggs, what's good? Appreciate y'all. The whole 9 yards, but yeah, that was an interesting conversation though. I'm on the fence about it, and I'm glad I don't have to deal with it because it's not my problem. Not my problem. So it is what it is. Before we get out of here, man, anything else? Anything you want to put out there?
Oh man, look, I only have a book nearby. If anybody cares, I wrote a book. I'm holding it up. Imaginary book. Short from source. 31 stories, poems, and thoughts. Feel free to cop one. Cash App, $ Mike Source, MICSOURCE, $15. I'll ship it out to you. Just send your address through the Cash App or DM me with your information and I'll ship it out to you. Thanks to everybody who's already copped a joint. It's been quite a few, so I appreciate it. And if you follow the TikTok page, you should have been in the building yesterday because I did DJ Premier versus Jay Dilla. Rest in peace, Jay Dilla. Bootleg versus. It was crazy. Did 18 songs apiece. Had a good time. So if you missed it, you missed it. Tomorrow we've got a Mirror Unplugged. Finally, we've gone back and forth trying to link up for months and keep missing each other, but got a Mirror Unplugged. She was on Becoming a Pop Star, which was an MTV/TikTok series during pandemic, and she's a singer-songwriter. She's I think she's hearing impaired. I think that's how you would say it in her case. She's also a Muslim, so she's got a lot of dynamics going on, and she's a dope artist. So I'll chop it up with her tomorrow at about, I think, 6 o'clock.
That's gonna be dope. Y'all go make sure y'all go check that out. And other than that, if you're watching on any other platforms besides the Facebook group, come join the Facebook group, the SBP. That stands for Sports Bar Podcast. We do it all. Sports talk is our thing, but hip hop, television, and movies are always in play. And speaking of movies, we will be back. About to be back with our Running Back series. Source and I about to go work on He Got Game, those Spike Lee joints. So you may see that posted later in the group and the various platforms sometime this evening or no later than tomorrow. But we're about to go work on that and to get things started off with that. But we appreciate y'all checking us out. Y'all enjoy game 2 tonight, Heat Nuggets, and yeah, we'll be in the group talking about it. But till next time, we out.